In the book, Harry must be nuts. This is one of the text messages his friends were sending around to each other after Meghan's first introduction to Harry's friends in 2017 during a shooty week. Meghan's podcast has fallen off the charts. She's been criticized for the content. There are rumors that her As Ever launch wasn't as successful as she considered it. Critically, With Love Meghan was not a success.
You can't trust Meghan and Harry. That's the point. Even if you think you've got a deal, and that I don't believe that is possible, but if you think you have, the palace will be shocked that they will renege immediately because they have no advantage.
Tom Bower has just dropped news that reportedly has Meghan Markle completely on edge. The hard-hitting journalist behind the explosive 2022 bestseller Revenge is back, and this time he's promising a sequel that's set to shake the Sussex narrative all over again. According to Bower, he's sitting on material that Meghan and Harry won't be able to spin, soften, or explain away, and the timing could not be worse. This comes after a brutal run for Meghan. The South Park parody that mocked her pregnancy narrative, reports of roughly $23 million worth of unsold jam tied to her lifestyle venture, and serious financial scrutiny surrounding her charity. Against that backdrop, Bower's return feels less like bad luck and more like a looming reckoning.
They've gone down dramatically. And I predicted it in the book, but even I would not have thought it'd be that accelerated. I think personally, they've separated their professional lives, but I think what's really a great problem for them now, as of in the last few weeks, is that Meghan has got no real income anymore. She's finished.
Right.
The Netflix series is over. There's no great podcast. They don't generate any money.
The announcement surfaced in September 2025, and Bower didn't hedge his words. He confirmed that a second book is officially in the works, focused entirely on the next chapter of Meghan and Harry's story. He also made it clear he's already gathered a significant amount of new insider material. In interviews, Bower said the public wants fresh insight, and from the way he's framed it, he intends to deliver exactly that. For anyone unfamiliar with Tom Bower, his reputation precedes him. In media circles, he's often referred to, half jokingly, half seriously, as the witch finder general of biographers because of how aggressively he digs. His first book, Revenge, became a global bestseller, built on testimony from more than 80 sources, many of whom went on the record.
No advantage of ending their vendetta.
This woman looks to me like a malignant narcissist. This woman has zero self-awareness.
They kind of up their whole thing, went way too hard on we're victims, and they assessed the mood of their generation and America correctly in that we are lovers of victimhood. Yeah. But America did finally find a way to say, you know what, we love victims, but you too.
Despite sustained pushback from Meghan's legal team, the book was never successfully challenged in court. The reason is simple. Bower is known for being meticulous, relentless, and obsessive about documentation. He doesn't publish without receipts, but here's the key difference this time. When Revenge was released, Meghan and Harry still had powerful Hollywood backing, major streaming contracts, and influential allies willing to shield them. Now, those buffers are gone. Spotify has dropped them. Netflix enthusiasm has cooled dramatically. The so-called holiday special failed to generate traction. This time, Bower isn't documenting a fall in progress. He's performing what looks more like a post-mortem. One of the most anticipated sections of the upcoming book is expected to revisit the South Park episode from February 2023, the worldwide privacy tour.
Too much of it.
Just ludicrous. It's all about her. And there's an extraordinary interview with Serena Williams where the first 11 minutes is all about her and not about this phenomenal tennis
Serena
champion.
Williams.
I mean, so that's why it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And who'd want to put herself or himself, as always, women. I mean, she does have this strange distrust, I think, of men.
I just think she's crying for sympathy, playing the victim when there's nothing to be a victim about. And there's also no sympathy to be granted for this lifestyle that she's chosen to live.
The abdication happened because of the American Wallace. That was a catastrophe in a way. But we overcame it, and his successor, George VI, was a terrifically successful king.
That episode didn't simply poke fun, it crystallized global skepticism into a cultural moment. South Park took whispers that had circulated online for years and blasted them into mainstream consciousness with brutal precision. The episode mirrored Meghan's real-life video in which she filmed herself visibly pregnant while working in a hospital setting, with Harry hovering awkwardly nearby. The moment was presented as inspirational, but South Park flipped it entirely. In the animated parody, Meghan dances in a hospital room until the exaggerated baby bump suddenly drops to the floor like a pillow. The internet erupted. That moment wasn't random. It captured years of online skepticism surrounding Meghan's public pregnancy appearances. Bauer reportedly understands exactly why that scene mattered, and sources suggest he plans to contextualize how a satirical cartoon managed to do what traditional media avoided: make the subtext unavoidable. Then there was the infamous database scene. On screen, the animated Meghan's profile flashes briefly with a list of descriptors: sorority girl, actress, influencer, victim. Just 4 words, but they punctured the carefully curated brand she'd built for years. According to reports, Meghan's team attempted to have the episode pulled, but South Park refused. It aired as planned. Bauer is said to be dissecting how that single episode transformed Harry and Meghan from controversial figures into global memes almost overnight. TikTok exploded with reenactments, remixes, and endless riffs on "respect our privacy." Hollywood insiders later told Variety that after that cultural moment, many industry players no longer wanted the baggage that came with the Sussex brand, and that was only the beginning. Bauer is also reportedly digging deep into Meghan's most visible business failure to date: American Riviera Orchard. When the lifestyle brand launched in April 2024, it was accompanied by glossy press, breathless headlines, and glowing coverage from outlets like Harper's Bazaar.
When they took this Netflix big moolah, and I would say they signed away their credibility and their dignity.
Well, that's our view, but it's not theirs. They need the money, and they need it now more than ever because they've got no other source of income. So I think they're just stuck with the devil now. They're tied to Netflix, they're tied to their book, and all the criticism they're going to take means nothing because that's the only way they can earn.
Meghan claimed the product sold out within hours, and media coverage repeated the claim without hesitation. But Bauer's research reportedly tells a very different story. According to a viral Reddit investigation, a back-end website glitch revealed the actual inventory. Users were allegedly able to add tens of thousands of items to their cart, with the system showing exactly how many units remained in stock. The illusion of scarcity collapsed in real time. Bauer is said to have obtained internal numbers that don't lie. His upcoming book reportedly claims that Meghan's business troubles run far deeper than publicly acknowledged. Roughly $23 million worth of unsold products, including approximately 137,000 untouched boxes of fruit spreads still sitting in storage. That's more than $6 million tied up in jam alone. Even more damaging, Bauer allegedly states that only 26 jars were sold in the first 24 hours. At that pace, he estimates it would take nearly 9 years to clear existing inventory, assuming the products don't expire first. But the story doesn't stop there. Bauer reportedly details what he calls the Harper's Bazaar illusion, a strategy in which Meghan allegedly launched the brand with only a small number of units to manufacture artificial scarcity. Once headlines declared the products sold out, she reportedly placed massive follow-up orders, betting that media hype would convert into demand. Instead, the move appears to have backfired catastrophically, transforming a PR tactic into a financial sinkhole. Bauer is also said to explore Meghan's attempts to tie her lifestyle brand to her Netflix presence, hoping that on-screen visibility would translate into consumer trusts and sales. When the Netflix holiday special failed to resonate with viewers, it reportedly dragged her commercial credibility down with it. Now, according to reports, Meghan is preparing a cookbook, one that already has critics raising eyebrows over recipes that closely resemble well-known Martha Stewart dishes.
When they're on their worldwide privacy tour, and you see this shot where they slice off the head of Meghan's head and look inside and it's empty.
Hollow!
And that is exactly...
That is a real baby bump. I think
way too big. It's way too big.
And sort of too low as well.
Yeah, it's like a metre out there. I mean, It looks the wrong shape.
Where's she going to give birth there? Through her knees or something, I mean.
Including a one-pot pasta that fans recognized almost instantly. Bauer hints that, if the project moves forward, legal complications may not be far behind. And sources say he's prepared to document every step. But perhaps the most serious revelation Bauer is expected to cover involves the Archewell Foundation's 2024 financial filings. According to his analysis, the charity reported approximately $5.1 million in expenses against just $2.1 million in donations, a discrepancy that has already begun raising uncomfortable questions. And this time, there may be no glossy interview, no streaming special, and no PR campaign powerful enough to make those numbers disappear. That's a roughly $3 million shortfall, and that's before you even get into what insiders describe as the more uncomfortable parts of the story. Even more shocking, Donations allegedly dropped by over 60% compared to the previous year. Bauer highlights nearly $913,000 in salaries for just 2 staff members, which works out to almost $500,000 each, plus $2.9 million labeled under vague other expenses. He suggests those costs may include security, private travel, and luxury perks that critics believe were effectively being funded through the organization's structure itself. And then comes the twist Bauer reportedly couldn't ignore: an internal shakeup that looks less like a routine restructuring and more like a quiet unraveling. 5 employees gone, leaving only 2 behind. Even longtime spokesperson James Holt, one of their most visible defenders, allegedly slipped back to the UK without fanfare. Bauer's book is promising to unpack every line of those numbers, and from the way it's being framed, the breakdown is going to be brutal. Then there's the Meredith Maines situation, reportedly quitting after what insiders describe as a major PR slip. The claim? That Meghan attended a Kardashian party. The problem? According to those same insiders, it never actually happened. No photos, no proof, no receipts. Nothing. And Bauer's new project is supposedly digging into moments exactly like this. The headlines that get seeded, the narratives that get floated, and the messy gap between what's claimed and what can actually be verified. He's reportedly already lining up interviews with people who were physically present for some of these events. Because in Bauer's world, the story only matters if you can place bodies in rooms. Bauer has also been reminding interviewers that when the first book began to rattle cages, many sources didn't need to be coaxed. They were eager. Now he's saying they're even more ready and far less afraid. That matters because fear is what keeps the walls up. When people stop fearing the fallout, the floodgates open. And according to his newest research, the Archewell organization allegedly hasn't filed proper tax documents for 3 years straight, a claim he positions as a major red flag. Even more suspicious, he says they quietly changed the name to Archewell Philanthropies, right as public scrutiny intensified. In his framing, that's not cosmetic. That's tactical. He believes the shift allowed them to operate under a fiscal sponsorship model, which can conveniently reduce public visibility into granular financial details. Critics call that hiding. Supporters call it operational. Either way, Bauer's thesis is clear. The timing is the story. But the money trail doesn't stop at vague categories and rebranding. Bauer's investigation reportedly uncovered records suggesting that back in 2021, Archewell received around $13 million through a U.S. development agency program. His sources claim it was government-related funding, and he's now looking closely at whether any of it may have been redirected toward political or non-charitable purposes. When that funding ended in 2024, donations to the foundation reportedly collapsed, suggesting in Bauer's telling that the machine may have been far more dependent on taxpayer-linked flows than the public realized. California reportedly listed the foundation as delinquent, and according to Bauer, the IRS has opened a review. He claims he has paperwork to support that, and he's signaling that this section alone is going to be one of the most combustible chapters of the sequel. But Bauer isn't staying in the spreadsheet lane. He's also diving into Meghan's pre-Harry years, focusing hard on her ties to Soho House, the ultra-exclusive invite-only club ecosystem where networking isn't casual, it's currency. Bauer has studied that world for years, calling it one of the key environments that shaped her path to influence. Soho House isn't your average hangout. It's elite, curated, and famously hard to get into. Yet Bauer argues Meghan appeared to have what looked like unlimited access. Prince Harry himself referred to Soho House as her headquarters, and Bauer wants to know exactly how that came to be. His focus lands heavily on Marcus Anderson, Soho House's global membership director and one of Meghan's closest longtime friends. Bauer reportedly tracked Anderson's movements and noticed a striking pattern. Every time Meghan relocated, Los Angeles to Toronto, Toronto to London, London to California. Anderson was right there too. He was even at their wedding as an honored guest. And Bauer is careful, according to insiders, to clarify that some of the old yacht photos floating online were misidentified. But in his view, that isn't the real mystery. The bigger question is this: how does someone with no major Hollywood role at the time build billionaire-level connections that seem to appear out of nowhere? That's the kind of question Bauer's sequel is determined to answer, and the world will want to read every word of it. Bauer's insiders are also claiming they've seen photos of Meghan attending high-profile Soho House events long before she ever met Harry. More provocative, Bauer says those same photos were allegedly shown by a well-known TV host during a broadcast. But what caught his attention most wasn't the pictures themselves. It was the response from Meghan's team, or, more accurately, the absence of one. Because Meghan has fought back aggressively in the past. She sued over that private letter to her father. She gave public, detailed criticisms of how she was treated after the Oprah interview. Yet when it comes to these alleged Soho House photos, Bauer notes, no denials, no outrage, no comment at all. To him, that silence isn't empty, it's loaded. And once you open the door to that silence, the next questions are unavoidable. Who funded the private jets? The luxury getaways? The designer wardrobes that showed up long before royal life? Her salary from Suits doesn't fully explain the scale of it, not in the way the visuals suggest. Bauer says he plans to lay out those inconsistencies piece by piece, every time the story changes, every timeline shift, every contradiction. That's why the sequel is shaping up not like a gossip update, but like a full-scale investigation, connecting every chapter of the Meghan and Harry narrative, the South Park cultural takedown, the business ventures that sputtered, the charity finances under scrutiny, and the murky pre-royal network that critics insist explains more than anyone wants to admit. Bauer reportedly even includes hard data. UK polling that he says shows Meghan's favorability plunging from 55% in 2019 to around 20% now, a drop so steep it reads like a collapse rather than a decline. In his framing, Hollywood insiders have shifted from praising her to labeling her a dictator in high heels. And what makes it more explosive is that Bauer positions himself as someone who called it early. His first book warned the public image would crack. Now he's arguing it's unfolding almost exactly as he predicted. And this time, he's not arriving while they are still protected by platforms. He's arriving when the protection is thin. Bauer claims to have receipts, website data pointing to roughly 137,000 unsold jam units, documentation of questionable charity spending, and reports of active federal-level reviews. He's also digging into the alleged Soho House photos and preparing interviews with former staff whose NDAs are reportedly nearing expiration. The people who stayed quiet before are now, in Bauer's telling, ready to talk. And he's signaling that this time, nothing is off limits. When his first book landed, it pulled back the curtain on what they were doing. His next one, expected in early 2026, is aiming to expose who they really were behind it all. And as Bauer keeps repeating in interviews, financial records don't lie, and official investigations don't care about PR. Now that the sequel is officially confirmed and his research is in full swing, the pressure around Meghan and Harry is intensifying by the day. But what makes this project truly dangerous for them isn't just what's already out there. It's what people suspect Bauer is still holding back. Insiders say he may have private correspondence, first-hand witness accounts, and documentation of what actually went wrong inside their inner circle. Sources close to Bauer describe this as his most thorough work yet. Not a messy tell-all, but a forensic breakdown of every misstep that led to what he reportedly calls the Sussex brand meltdown. He's mapping their fall in layers. Business decisions, public controversies, and private tensions that eventually bled into the open. And here's where it gets even more intense. Bauer has reportedly been quietly interviewing people who were once inside the Sussex professional orbit. Assistants, stylists, charity coordinators, people who saw the independent era up close. The version the public never got to see. The reality behind the speeches, behind the launch videos, behind the polished statements. Some of these people are now finally breaking their silence. According to sources, they were warned for years not to speak, but that protection window has closed. NDAs are expiring, and Tom Bauer is ready to document every word. The tone of this new book, based on early leaks, is very different from Revenge. The first book was an exposé. This one reads more like a forensic audit, an examination of everything Meghan and Harry tried to build and exactly how it unraveled. Bauer reportedly frames the story as one of squandered opportunity. Two people with global influence who became symbols of overexposure, mismanagement, and strategic miscalculation. Every move, every press release, every brand launch is connected into what he describes as a domino trail that ends in collapse. For example, Bauer's sources claim he's investigating Meghan's American Riviera Orchard brand far beyond the jam controversy. He's reportedly analyzing supplier contracts, distribution agreements, and how much personal money was injected to maintain the illusion of success. According to leaked information, Bauer uncovered more than a dozen invoices tied to marketing partnerships that were paid but never fulfilled, products that were never shipped, events that were quietly canceled, and ad budgets that simply disappeared. Then there's the entertainment side of the empire. Netflix and Spotify were meant to be proof of independence, the pillars of a new media dynasty. Instead, Bauer argues, they became evidence of how quickly Hollywood turns when the spotlight dims. The Netflix documentary generated headlines initially, but viewership dropped sharply after the first week. The Spotify deal ended without fanfare, and insiders allegedly began referring to the couple as high-maintenance, low-output clients, a phrase, Bauer notes, has now followed them into business circles. While Meghan's PR team continues pushing lifestyle content and messages of positivity, Bauer's book reportedly paints a very different picture, one of reputation fatigue. According to his analysis, the public doesn't actively hate them anymore. It's worse than that. People have stopped caring, and Bauer calls that the true downfall. Outrage can be monetized. Indifference cannot. When people stop reacting, stop clicking, stop watching, power evaporates overnight. The book also examines the growing internal divide between Meghan's ambitions and Harry's unresolved loyalty to the monarchy. Multiple insiders reportedly told Bauer that Harry still longs for reconciliation with his family, even if it means stepping back into royal life in some capacity. Meghan, by contrast, is described as doubling down on her Hollywood vision. Fashion weeks, elite social access, A-list proximity. Bauer reportedly portrays their goals as fundamentally incompatible, a quiet tug-of-war that fractured everything around them. But perhaps the most explosive section centers on the charity itself. Bauer's analysis of Archewell's finances is described as devastatingly detailed. He reportedly shows donations declining year after year while operating costs continued to rise. One insider told him that actual charitable giving accounted for less than a quarter of total spending, with the rest allegedly directed towards salaries, travel, media production, and image management. While Meghan's team insists everything was transparent and audited, Bauer claims he uncovered missing filings, unexplained restructuring, and rebranding moves that made tracking funds increasingly difficult. According to sources, California's registry flagged the foundation as delinquent and initiated a compliance review. Bauer reportedly obtained the official documentation himself, forms, letters, and filings, all included in the book. Another major pillar of the investigation revisits Meghan's long-standing connection to Soho House. Bauer examines how her relationship with global membership director Marcus Anderson allegedly opened doors few aspiring actresses could ever access. He tracked Anderson's movements across continents, noting how often he appeared wherever Meghan relocated: Los Angeles, Toronto, London, then California. To Bauer, that pattern isn't coincidence, it's infrastructure. He also revisits the long-rumored photos allegedly showing Meghan at private Soho House events. What stands out most, Bauer argues, isn't the images themselves, but the refusal to address them. In his words, silence can sometimes reveal more than denial. Then comes what Bauer reportedly calls the central theme of the entire story: the power gap, the difference between perception and reality. Meghan and Harry built their brand on sympathy and the promise of freedom from control. Over time, that message collapsed into contradiction. Demands for privacy paired with relentless visibility. According to Bauer, once the message stopped aligning with behavior, the public rewrote the story for them. That rewritten narrative now dominates pop culture. Meghan's name no longer sparks admiration, it sparks skepticism. And perhaps the most surprising element of the book is how Bauer reportedly concludes it. Not as an attack, but as a cautionary tale. He doesn't cast Meghan and Harry as villains, but as people who believed their own publicity for too long, who confused fame with control and underestimated how quickly fascination turns into fatigue. As early 2026 approaches and the book's release draws closer, all eyes are back on the Sussexes. Will they respond? Will they attempt another rebuttal? Or will they choose silence and let the pages speak for themselves? One thing is certain: Tom Bauer has built a career on documentation, cross-checking, and recorded testimony. His work doesn't rely on rumor, it relies on proof. He has never lost a case. Not because he avoids confrontation, but because he arrives prepared. Paper trails, witnesses, receipts. And now, with former staff ready to speak and records already in hand, Bauer is picking up exactly where revenge left off. For years, Meghan controlled the image, every photo, every headline, every interview. But Bauer doesn't operate in optics, he operates in facts. And when the book drops, the full picture of the Sussex era may finally be locked into the public record. So what do you think? Will Meghan respond this time or stay silent and hope the storm passes? Drop your thoughts below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to stay up to date on every major development, because this story is far from finished.